Okay, very quickly please, draw a map of the Sinai Peninsula where you have Egypt, Sinai Peninsula, leading up to Dead Sea, okay, in Palestine. So, very, very simple one. Adam, from there to there, in a big thing, okay? From there to there. So over here, we're going to talk about the movement from Egypt to Palestine. I want you to draw a map, please. And I want you to see, when you draw your map, is there any possibility, if we're going to talk about the different journey, that your map would make sense? I want you to get to the point where you're drawing a map that absolutely makes sense, nice and clear. So please go ahead and do it now. I think I spent about 5 minutes on this thing, then we get stuck in the lesson today. Okay? Map of the Sinai Peninsula, so you can map out the wilderness wandering from Egypt all the way to the Promised Land. Don't copy, Sam. You only want it up to here.
Hey?
Someone's gone from Egypt to here. That stuff's not wanted.
Oh, okay.
Just there, but there.
Mm-hmm. And that side she goes.
That's Exodus? That's
Try and put in the Dead Sea, will you? Try and put the Dead Sea in there somewhere.
I went for a more, less is more.
That's not the Dead Sea, mate.
Sorry.
You haven't drawn it yet.
Yeah, I went less is more.
That's the bit.
Take care of it off.
You know where your gifts don't lie. Okay, people. Okay, now I want to learn what you'll do. You get one of these things here and you'll see the difference between what you've done and what's supposed to have been done, okay? There's the difference. What you've done and what's supposed to have been done.
Mine's pretty accurate.
So just have a look at it and think about whether you need some improvement or not.
I was the wrong way around.
All right, people.
Hayden was just looking on that.
Sorry?
So Hayden was just cheating while he was drawing that.
That's up to him. I don't care. I don't care. When I read my Bible now, whether it be Bible study or devotions, I'm constantly turning to the back and checking the maps to make sure as I go through, oh, that's where that is. I find myself doing it automatically now. And now I'm reading the Bible slower to make sure I don't bypass some of these things. So it's very, very important. So if you get, I suppose, the desire to want to know the area, want to know what they're doing. Now this over here is incomplete. If we was to go ahead and put in all the mountain ranges like this, and mountain ranges down over there, this massive, great big deep valley over here, this part over here being so many thousand feet under sea level, and you try and draw the mountainous ranges over there, and you realise when they go from place to place, they're going up mountains, down mountains, up mountains, down mountains. It's not just flat. You get the idea everything is flat. It's not flat. It's not. And when you get the geography in the area, get geography in your mind, suddenly now, that means much, much more. Travelling is much more dangerous. So when Christ was travelling everywhere, it wasn't easy, it was dangerous. Matter of fact, when people travelled, many of them took out what you would call, in today's terms, insurance policies. Why? And they put down their wills. Why? I might return home. I might not return home because travelling was so dangerous. All right, now we're looking over here in your notes. There are a few areas over there, so if you keep listening, you might be able to find out. We're going to look at from the land of Goshen, the Exodus from wilderness to the wilderness wanderings. From over here at Ramses, Pithom is down there. Between Ramses and Pithom, the two major cities that the Jews were built. They built for Egyptians during their time of slavery. So God led them from over here. And the first place to go to is down to Succoth. And Succoth, from there they go down to Etham. Etham is down over here near the Red Sea. From Etham, they travel up north to Pi-hahiroth near Baal-zephon. Why they travel north, I don't know. Not told, just simply they go from down over here, then north over there. What you have basically is some of these places, they're guessing where they were. They're looking at different archaeological finds and think, oh, this could be that, or this could be this could be that. So some of these cities, they're only just guessing. Now the rough idea is true, that general thing's true, but whether they went this way or that way, there's three possible areas they cross the Red Sea. Here, or down there. Three possible areas. Now, they don't know for sure. But anyway, you pick just one, the most popular one, keep on going. So they went down from Ramesses to Pi-hahiroth, then to Succoth, then to Etham, then up north to Baal-zephon. Then they crossed the Red Sea. Now, note over there, in point 5 under the first part there, the Red Sea literally Yam Suf. Now, that means Sea of Reeds, literally. Now, liberal scholars would say, oh, you see, they knee deep. That's all, Sea of Reeds, just knee deep thing where people just walk through. Yeah, there's no problem with having a sea with metres and metres of reeds going for 100 kilometres up the side of it. No problem. But it's still a sea. And this sea was so deep that it drowned all of Pharaoh's army and his horses. All the chariots were covered completely. So we don't know how deep it was, but it was a sea of depth that could drown a whole army. So it wasn't knee deep. Okay? It wasn't knee deep. All right. From the Red Sea, we're going to go down now to Mount Sinai. And as they travel south, they go down 3 days' journey and they come to, in the wilderness of Etham, they come to a place called Marah. And there they were expecting to find water to drink, but it was bitter water. And so they started whinging and murmuring. 3 days out of Egypt, they're whinging and murmuring, there's no water. So God tells Moses, get a bush, throw it in the well over there, and they'll be made sweet. Happened, they drank it, no problem. They moved south about 11 kilometres to Elim, and that's like an oasis. There's 70 palm trees and many wells of water. They had a nice top over there. They go from Elim further down south. Let's go down south into the wilderness there. They experience the fact that there's no water anywhere. Because there's no water, what do? They whinge. This is Israel's answer to a problem. It's called whinge. They complain, they murmur, because in the very beginning the Bible says, a mixed multitude went out with the Jews from Egypt. And that mixed multitude constantly stirred people up with their whinging and nagging. And all it takes is one person who's got a sourpuss on him in any group of people to start things off, and others will start following. So you find the multitude comes along and says, oh, there's no water. You brought us over in the wilderness, what, to kill us? You brought us, where we were back in there in Egypt, where everything was so fine. We had all our food and everything. We had to die in this wilderness. We had our flesh to eat and everything. So God says, okay. So God gives them manna. This is the first time they get manna when they're down over here. And manna. And also God gives them quail. And that quail to satisfy the whole lot of them. And then God establishes the Sabbath with Israel over here, saying you pick your manna 6 days. On the 7th day, nothing. On the 6th day, pick twice as much as you want. And that'll last the next day, and you can then go on through your normal thing from Sunday through to Saturday. Okay, so that was over here. And then they went down south further. They come to Rephidim. Now, Rephidim, there's no water. They're starting to thirst. First there's no food, now there's no water. And with the no water, what happens is they start whinging and moaning and groaning as usual. So God tells Moses, I want you to go down south from Rephidim down to Mount Sinai to Horeb. I want you to go over there and strike the rock. You'll give us water. So he goes over there with his rod, smash the rock, and from down at Rephidim, rivers of water flow all the way back. So from Mount Sinai, rivers of water flows all the way back to Rephidim, waters all the nation of Israel and all the animals completely. It's like as if you had a wadi that's all dried up, and God turned the tap on, filled the wadi completely, and went back there and filled, and everyone was taken care of completely. At Rephidim also, we find out Amalekites. Now, Amalekites normally live around this area over here, and they wander down south and back again because they're nomads too. And Amalekites saw the Israelites come along, and they started attacking them from behind. Now, in marching order, the weakest are behind. That's what it says. They're attacking the Israelites from the weakest type of people. It's like having guerrilla warfare. And you get all the weakest, the slow ones, and all these type of things, kill them off. And so the war was started over here, and God told Moses, get up on the top of a rock and lift your rod up. And while your rod's up, Joshua's winning the battle. If the rod comes down, he's going to lose the battle. So he has his hand up, and then comes on one side of him, and you have her one side, then Aaron the other side, and they help lift his arms up to have the battle done completely. So this, their very first battle, is over in Rephidim with the Amalekites. And because the Amalekites were such a bunch of, I won't say unethical, it's a nice word, just a bunch of scumbags, that God says, later on, I'm going to destroy you completely. And that later on came when King Saul was told to go wipe out the Amalekites. Because of what they did back over here, God determined to destroy them completely. Then after here we find that they come down, by the way, while they're still over here, we find that Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, brings Moses' wife to him and his 2 kids, because what happened in the time he was in Egypt and the 10 plagues were coming along, he sent his wife back home again to Jethro, which is over this area over here. And so then now he found out they escaped from Egypt, so he brought his wife down over there in the bottom there. And Jethro, he's a wise type of guy. He saw what Moses was doing. Moses was judging the people, and he'd sit in one spot, and they'd line up from morning till evening to get advice from him. And he's saying, you're wasting your time, and you're wasting their time too. Why don't you choose people who are able people from the men over here, and get them to take care of the minor details, and you take care of the greater details. He thought, yeah, good idea. So here's Moses, the man of God, and he's listening to his dad, or father-in-law, advice on how to organise the purpose of giving counsel to the people of Israel. So Moses was a humble type of guy. From Rephidim, they go to Mount Sinai, which is Horeb. Now over here, they got to Horeb actually 3 months after they left Ramesses. So 3 months from here all the way down to there. That's how long it took them to travel down there. Now, that's only I don't know if it's a couple hundred k's or something. I have a map over here. 50, 100. Yeah, it's about 200 miles, maybe just about 300 kilometres. It took them 3 months to travel that down there. So basically 100 kilometres a month. So it's not really fast going, but it's going with all their herds and flocks and kids and everything. They stay in mountain down to Horeb, roughly around about 11 months. That's how long they stay over there. It takes them 3 months to get there. When they come over here to Kadesh Barnea, it's roughly 1 year and 2 months from the time they left Egypt. So basically, they're there for 11 months down below. In that 11-month period, you find they build the tabernacle. You find the people are numbered completely. The priesthood is established. The Levites are established. And everything is done for them to start moving. All the events of Leviticus are down over Mount Sinai. And the first 10 chapters of Numbers down at Mount Sinai, in that one spot over there. And then we find over here, that's where they made the golden calf, because Moses went up the mount for 40 days. Israel made a golden calf over there and started to worship it. All these events happened down here in Mount Sinai. So it was a very eventful 11-month period. After this, they start heading for Kadesh Barnea, and they come from here to Taberah. Now at Taberah, people started whinging straight away, just whinging straight away. And God was so angry at that, he went, sent down fire and consumed people on the outer side of the camp. And so that wasn't enough. A little bit further to Kibroth Hattaavah. In Kibroth Hattaavah, people are whinging and moaning, saying, oh, would we be back in Egypt where we had the melons and the garlics and the fish and the leeks and the onions, and life was so good back then. God got so angered with this, okay, I'll give you food, I'll give you meat to eat. He said, Moses, give them meat to eat. Moses said, all these people, I'm going to kill all the cattle we have and get all the fish to feed them. And God said, I want you to feed them for a month. Not 1 day or 2, a month. A month. And my Moses thinking, how's that going to happen? And God said, hey, is my hand short and I can't do it? A month. So what happens, God had great big mountains of quail brought in by winds for all around the camp. And they went and gathered themselves so much quail, brought them home and started eating. And the Bible says, while they were chewing it in their teeth, he brought a plague along to kill these people. And many, many, many died at Kibroth Hattaavah. And the place is called Graves of Lust. That's what the word means, graves of lust. From there, they move up steadily north to Hazeroth. And at Hazeroth, we find over here, Miriam and Aaron start to criticise Moses, thinking, you're not the only one that God speaks through. He speaks through us too. We're prophets too, not just you. And Moses didn't say a word. The Bible says he's the meekest man in all the world. And what happened, God came along and said, hey, Miriam, Aaron, come here. Moses, come here. He said to Miriam and Aaron, listen, I speak to prophets in dark sentences, visions and dreams. But my servant Moses, face to face. Who are you? Who are you to tell him off like that? And God gets so aggro with him, straight away Miriam, who was the prime suspect over here, became leprous. And then Aaron panicked like he says, Moses, please, pray, my Lord, pray that God takes it away. And so he prayed for Miriam, and God says, if her father just spat in her face, she'd be unclean for a week. Put her out of the camp for a week. So this woman, who saw herself to be so great, was put out of the camp, unclean, and all the congregation saw she was unclean, and they didn't move for a week while she was being over there and being disciplined by God. Then God took the leprosy away and brought her back in the camp again. That's over here at Hazeroth. From Hazeroth, they moved all the way up to Kadesh Barnea. Kadesh Barnea is the southern border of Canaan. That's in the wilderness of Paran, the border of wilderness of Paran and the wilderness of Sin. And over Kadesh Barnea, the 12 spies were sent out to Canaan to check the land out completely. And they went over there, and they went down over here, up to Hormah, over here, around about here to Eshcol. That's the furthest point north we're told they went to. Got a great big bunch of grapes from Eshcol that weighed about 40 kilos, put them on great big pole, and 2 guys carried them, brought them back again. So after 40 days, they said, man, this is the real land that flows with milk and honey, perfect. But there's giants in there, sons of Anak, and they're in these great big walled cities, and we can't beat them. We're like grasshoppers in their sight. We can't beat them. So the whole idea is this: there's 10 spies gave the negative response. Only 2 gave the positive response, which is Caleb and Joshua, and they said, we can beat them, they're food for us, we'll go in there, God will destroy them completely. So anyway, the whole people believed the 10, not the 2, and they didn't want to go. They wanted to get themselves a captain and go back to Egypt again. Well, God got stuck into them and said, okay. And they said, would that we died in the wilderness rather than coming over here. He said, God, I'll give you what you wanted. You'll die in the wilderness, every one of you people. From 20 years old and upwards, you're in the army, you'll die in the wilderness. Over 600,000 people. And your children, which you said will be a prey, they will go into the promised land. Straight away. So over here, Kadesh Barnea, that's the point, a point of testing where they failed the test in unbelief and condemned to die. And so now next 38 years they go wandering around and around and around until they come back here again. The next thing we hear about, when they left Kadesh Barnea, they're back at Kadesh again, 38 years later. So in the book of Numbers, when you have the cities mentioned, next city mentioned after here, the same city. God just wipes out those 38 years like that. They're not worth mentioning. It's a time where they're being disciplined completely. Now, we're told about events that happened in that time, but as far as what cities they stayed at, we're not told. Okay? So Kadesh Barnea, that's the place where we find that they turn against the Lord. Now they're going from Kadesh Barnea to Moab. Okay? So we have over here now 38 years and whoosh, now back to Kadesh again. Over here we find straight away in their 40th year, Miriam dies. She dies over there. And then we're told soon after that, over here at Mount Hor. Now, Mount Hor is not in Edom. It's on the border of Edom. So it could be here, or here. They don't know exactly. So different people are put in different places. So at Mount Hor, we're told that's the place where Aaron died. And he was supposed to go there. And God told Aaron, come up the mount over here. God says, it's time for you to die. Now, just before that, that's the place also in at Kadesh where Moses was told to speak to a rock. When they were complaining about no water, no water, no water, speak to the rock and give forth its water. And Moses come along and smashed the rock twice. Just smashed it twice because of his super anger. And God says, for that, you didn't honour me before Israel. You've lost your place in the promised land. You won't go in. You won't go in. Him and Aaron. So Aaron was then taken over to die. And after this, we find that Moses, from here, tried to get to the king of Edom saying, can we please pass for your land so we can go up over here? He said, no. So now we have to go down south, around over here. The great big circumvent nation of Edom completely. They would not let Israel go through. There was a passionate hatred toward them. They wouldn't let them go through. So after this we find that Israel go from Kadesh. Moses is on Mount Hor, is put to death. Then we find King Arad of the Canaanites comes down from maybe at Hormah, fights against Israel, and they pray to God. And they say, God, give us grace to beat this guy and we'll destroy their cities. God gives them grace. They destroy them completely, conquer their cities, and they go on south after that. That's the second time they've had a battle since they left Egypt. The second time. Now, these people, untrained, poor weapons, maybe they might have farming implements, just ill-equipped, and yet God gave them grace to win the next two times they had to fight with people, gave them grace to win. That's God's goodness. Now, they come around from Mount Hor, and they travel down all the way south, down to Iziongebra. This is in his 40th year now. They're in Iziongebra over here, which is the northern point of the Gulf of Aqaba, the very, very northern point. And it's a southern point of the tribe of Edom. And then from Edom over here, from Gulf of Aqaba, from Iziongebra, they come up to Oboth, from Oboth to Iziogebra, which is on the border of Moab. Then they go around Moab. They don't go through it. They're not allowed to go through it. Come up over here to Dihon. Now, over here, this used to be land of Sihon, king of the Amorites. And they come over here, and they say, excuse me, King Sihon, can we pass through your land? He says, no. He comes over with his army, and a fight's on. So he started the war. Not Israel, he started the war. So God gets the people together through Moses. They fight him, and they kill him completely. His land, from here to here, that was the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites. He stole it from Ammon originally, and now become his land. So when he was defeated completely, God said, right, all that land over there, they're going to now possess completely. And then when they fought over here, King Og of Bashan, he felt very, very sus about this, so he came out to fight Israel at Edrei. Israel defeated him over here, so now all the land of Bashan became Israel. So what we have over here now is, from here to this point, this area belonged to Reuben. Gad took from here to there, and half tribe of Manasseh took the top part from the Yarmuk River on the top. So that land became the land of the 2.5 tribes of Israel. Reuben over to here, Gad or Gilead, and there becomes half tribe Manasseh. So then we come to the very point where we get to about Nebo, and that's the place where on the eastern side of the Jordan River, and that's the place where Moses was taken up and Moses died at the very, very end. So that's basically the travelling of Egypt, from the Israelites from Egypt all the way to the Promised Land. You have a moment by moment history coming up to about here. Then 38 years pass. Then you have the last part going up over there. Okay? So if you keep the area in mind, you sense they're in the wilderness over here. There's no food, no water, nothing. And they stay in this wilderness. There's 5 different wildernesses over here. There's Shur, there's Etham, there's the wilderness of, what's that down there? Can't read my own writing. I forgot, what's that? My whole notes might have it. Okay, you got Shur, Etham, Sin. Then over here you're going to have Paran, and the top over there is what? Another wilderness somewhere. There's 5 different wildernesses that they're going through, and just barren. And that land they went through for 40 years, and God sustained them. 40 long years, extreme heat, extreme dryness, barrenness, sand, dirt, dust everywhere, and God sustained a whole nation for 40 years. If he can take care of a whole nation, can't he take care of us in our environment with woolies down the road and coal down the road and food everywhere? Easy. Any questions? Yeah.
It's just to entertain the thought, if they did obey the law, I wonder what would have happened if they did go to Canaan. You know, I wonder what his plan was.
If they did go, you mean Kadesh Barnea?
Yeah, so if they went to Kadesh Barnea, they went up to sort of Canaan,
Yeah.
and they obeyed him, they went forth. I just wonder how that would have played out if they did actually.
Man, it would have been fantastic. They'd have God's inheritance straight away. Finished, it's theirs, it was given to them. God said, that's yours. Now, when they were over here, God could have taken them from here to Canaan straight away, but he didn't do it. Why? Because he knew them. If they saw war straight away, they'd chicken and come back again. So instead of that, he's going to take them down south, he's going to train them, teach them, organise them completely, give them the priesthood, give them their leader, give them everything they need, give them the word of God, and speak to them personally through the Mount Sinai, and they come up then completely equipped to enter into Canaan. So there's no problem. He trained them completely over here to conquer the Canaanites.
Even use their Amalekites to practice with.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that if we obey God and we do what he wants to do when he wants to do it, man, we're going to have our Canaan. It's so many people today, like Christians, are wandering in the wilderness with a mundane, defeated type of life. Now, God's still with them. He still feeds them, provides for them, sure. But it's mundane. Yeah, it's like living like a chicken instead of like an eagle. But then when they finally went into the Promised Land, same enemies, same troubles, same cities, same giants, same everything. But their children went in and conquered them. Because they had faith now. Before, no faith. Now faith. The difference between claiming what God has for you is a thing called faith. Just believing God His word. Be willing to take that step of faith and trust Him. If things go wrong, okay, things go wrong. I made a mistake, but I made a mistake trusting God. That's a good mistake to make. Making a mistake trusting God is a good mistake to make. Okay? Because it's no mistake. You can't make a mistake trusting God. You can't. It's impossible. That's if you do it rightly. If you trust Him the way He says, no problem. If you trust Him the way you want, that's tempting God. It won't work. All right? God bless people.